Hey guys, what's up? Alanah here with Button Bash. 2013's critically acclaimed indie title Papers, Please has returned with a re-release on iPad, and it's going to be really hard to explain this game in a way that doesn't sound just horribly dull, but it's not, so here we go. You play an immigration officer for the fictional country of Arstotzka, basically just deciding who to let in and who to decline as tiny pixelated people walk up to your booth with sometimes fraudulent paperwork. You have to scan expiry dates, photos, names, heights, weights, jobs, location, and a handful of other things to check if someone is legally entitled to enter the wonderful Arstotzka and decline people who rock up at your booth with inaccuracies. And then you just use the touchscreen controls to flick their stuff back over to them, which is weirdly satisfying. Actually, moving paperwork around the screen and stamping passports using basic iPad controls makes it feel like this game was kind of designed for iPad originally. It feels much more natural than most iPad games. The process of checking so many separate things is, in a really strange way, addictive. I'm still not entirely sure why, but it's probably partly because it's quite flawlessly done even on the iPad. Most of the information you need to cross-check is readily available in your neatly organised booth, with some of it in a nearby handbook, but it's all available on the one single screen. So as an example, say someone has an expired passport. You check the date on their passport, then check the date that's listed in your booth, then press a fat red button to check for discrepancy. Click both dates and the game will tell you if there is indeed a discrepancy detected. You'll then ask the pixelated person standing in your booth about the expired passport, and they'll either come up with a lame excuse or provide a new passport, which is when you either get to smack their passport with a deny or accept button. Man, is denying people satisfying. And you do have to be really careful because there is more to the game than checking documents. If you let through people you shouldn't have, you'll either get a warning or that person will just straight up bomb the immigration area and your day will be cut short, forcing you to go home with less money. Yep, you're basically working on commission. Every person you let through earns you a certain amount of money, and being that you live in this apparently really bad economy, you need it. At the end of each workday, which is based on real time, you get sent to a text screen that tells you the status of your 4 family members and your expenses. You need to pay for rent, heat, food, and sometimes even medicine, mostly by processing arrivals. You can also accept bribes for certain things, but you risk getting caught, and if you let through 3 people who you shouldn't have during the day, you start losing money. So then there's this stressful thing where you know you have to process people really quickly in order to save your rapidly dying family, but the faster you process applicants, the more likely you are to screw up. And it's not really that there's too much empathy with your family who are just listed as text and hungry or sick or cold, but it provides a goal beyond do well. And initially that was enough to keep me hooked, but it gets even more intense. It even gets kind of emotionally shocking. I felt really uncomfortable accidentally turning people away or being forced to body scan some people based on their heritage, or declining someone's spouse because they had one inaccuracy, or accusing a woman of being a man based on the way she looked. For a pixelated, simple game, it's extremely stressful, and I do wonder if I'll look at people differently next time I'm at the airport. But the most interesting part of the game for me is the outcomes. You're faced with a handful of different choices from different characters, including a particularly interesting organisation called Ezic. Most of these choices just involve choosing whether or not to let someone through even though you know they're illegal, and how that affects the game world. For example, my playthrough ended after I cracked a simple code for Ezic, had basically handed me over 2 separate days on sheets of paper, and let a man from the organisation in exchange for $1,000. With my newfound wealth, I upgraded my apartment, and then my neighbours noticed and told the authorities. Ezic came by the next day and promised to help me out if I let another one of their members through who would come through later in the day, but I accidentally let through someone I shouldn't have, who then suicide bombed the area, and my day was cut short before the Ezic member arrived to help me. So the authorities threw me in jail for supporting that organisation, and I'm still not entirely sure what happened to my family. It was totally unexpected, but kind of fascinating to watch unfold, especially because I couldn't stop double guessing my choice to upgrade apartments even prior to being told I had been reported to the authorities. Rough. It's actually a pretty hard game. So the 2 screens you see during gameplay provide a pretty intense journey with a mix of fascinating and really funny characters, despite usually only saying a few words each. For such a small thing, it has a lot of personality and excellent music and sound design, even if there's very little variety there. Now, I don't think that everyone will like this game. Yes, it is mechanically a paperwork simulator. If you don't get invested in the kind of character that some indie games can have, you're probably not going to like Papers, Please. You're probably going to get bored. But I wasn't, and I would guess that probably 70% of you will love it too. Papers, Please came out in February last year on PC and on December 12th this year on the iPad. I'm Alanah, and thanks for watching Button Bash.